For Complex News, I'm Natasha Martinez. As more and more states begin to reopen and COVID-19 vaccinations become more available, a return to normalcy is finally within reach. But with hope for a future comes questions about what exactly this future might look like. Here are some things to know about vaccines, vaccine passports, and what you can expect in the next coming months. The path to the vaccine. After almost 1 year of Tiger King, bread baking, and quarantine craps, by December 2020, pharmaceutical companies Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and AstraZeneca began reporting positive results for their COVID-19 vaccine trials, and their first vaccination was administered in New York to a critical care nurse. By early 2021, vaccine rollout began globally. Some states ran into trouble when it came to registering people for the vaccine, putting the efficiency of the system in question. While vaccine administration sites struggled with distributions, problems like lost deliveries, low turnout, theft, and favors for friends and families persisted. As of March 2021, images of white vaccine cards with vaccine type and date began popping up more frequently on social media. What are vaccine passports? Despite the public debate, vaccination cards are not new. You probably use them for school or even international travel. The World Health Organization issues the yellow card, which allows travelers to prove that they have been vaccinated against highly contagious diseases like yellow fever, rubella, and cholera. Since the pandemic, the idea of implementing general use vaccine passports became more widely discussed.
It's just basically no different from having your own vaccine record that a lot of us have from childhood. With the updated electronic vaccine passport for international travel, it would be a way of making that a bit more secure and a bit easier for one country to verify the health records from another country.
For example, Israel was the first country to successfully implement the use of Green Passport, an app linked to a vaccination card which allows you to scan into bars, restaurants, gyms, and buildings across the country, plus bypass mandatory quarantine requirements and prove recovery of COVID-19, according to the MIT Technology Review. The CDC launched Be Safe Tracker, where user submissions are helping the CDC track the long-term effectiveness of vaccines, note side effects, and enable follow-ups. But with no national guidelines in the US, states are starting to come up with their own solutions. For example, New York just launched the Excelsior Pass, while Missouri, Mississippi, Florida, Montana, Pennsylvania, and Arkansas have introduced bills to ban their use within their respective states.
Here in New York, we've seen Andrew Cuomo become a leading figure for the adoption of a vaccine passport system. But we've seen, Governor Greg Abbott in Texas go to just as disturbing an extreme in the opposite direction, not only banning vaccine door passes, but banning even paper proof of vaccination. Neither of these is a public health centered approach. Neither of these is evidence-based.
As vaccine passports become more widely used, experts have begun to sound alarms about potential problems.
I don't know. That's the short answer. I don't know who has access to this information because right now we haven't seen the sort of disclosures we need from the vaccine passport manufacturers, from the people making these daily door passes to know what information they're collecting, how it's being stored, and who has access. Here in New York, we've rolled out Excelsior Pass, the first vaccine door pass in the country, and it's been a partnership between New York State and IBM. We've asked the governor's office repeatedly for information about what data is collected, how that data is being safeguarded, and what type of encryption is being used, and all we've gotten in response is silence.
Opponents of vaccine passports are quick to point out that many do not have access to the internet or smartphones, and requiring digital vaccine passports will further the socioeconomic divide.
On the other hand, we have vaccine door passes, this new invasive form of surveillance that would be used to check our vaccine status anytime we go to school, go to work, even go to the grocery store. And it raises unprecedented challenges to civil rights, to privacy, and risks transforming the inequity in our healthcare system into a new form of digitized discrimination.
As programs roll out, many are also questioning privacy concerns involved. For example, vaccine cards list personal information. The Federal Trade Commission issued warnings on text message scams offering shipments of vaccines and sites selling fake vaccination cards on the black market. So, what does it all mean? While many of these apps can make it easier for global entry and provide proof of vaccination for any disease, not just COVID-19, these apps vary in the information that they collect and transmit. Experts say that if you do opt to use these apps, pick one that is the most transparent in terms of what data it collects, as the info can help the CDC and the WHO track the effectiveness of the vaccine, the pace of distribution, and potential outbreak zones.
If they are using this app, looking for those that collect the least data possible, which have the strongest technical documentation, which prove that their security practices rather than just giving rhetoric. And also to avoid the apps that explicitly allow real-time access to this data by law enforcement. We've seen a couple of these apps roll out with really devastating privacy policies that would allow explicitly for this information to be handed over to the police. And it is completely inappropriate for this public health data to be turned into yet another form of mass incarceration.
Right now, there is no real regulation on any of this, but what is important here is that you stay informed and that you stay safe. As reopening and vaccine distributions continue, the CDC continues to encourage mask wearing and social distancing. So please wash those hands, stay safely apart, and stay with Complex News for all of the latest. For Complex, I'm Natasha Martinez.